Yes, I did watch the season finale of Loki. Spoilers abound. I admit, I've really enjoyed the series, but I haven't been blown away by the fight scenes. I mean, part of that is because it's a TV series, and so you always have less time than you would on a movie. Part of it is that I watch Disney Plus on my phone, and so because so many of the fight scenes are so dark, I really don't have much of a clue what's going on. And part of it is that they're okay, but sometimes kind of odd. My name's Jill Bearup. If you don't know me, I pretend to fight people on stage. Anyway, episode 4 in particular cemented my opinion that nobody seems to have explained to the TVA how best to use a stick where one end is pointy and the other end is instant disintegration. Which is to say, why would you not use that like a fencing foil or a small sword? I mean, this is a small sword hilt with an epee blade on it for stage combat, but you take my point. Pun fully intended. Foil fencing is kind of based on small sword, and in small sword, the end is all that counts. The end is the only part that is sharp. If you have a stick where touching someone lightly with one end of it means instant disintegration, I think that's a reasonable facsimile of the pointy end of a sword. And so the style it would make most sense to adopt is something like the small sword or the fencing foil, where everything is very close in and your idea is that you need to lightly poke them with the point. A TVA pruning stick should be a thrusting weapon, not a wildly swing it through the air like it's a club weapon. Or if you didn't want to disintegrate people and instead just wanted to kill them, just turn the disintegration part off, swap it around, and again, use it like a pointy stick. But anyway, the final fight between Sylvie and Loki, well, it contained many feelings. I mean, I've never been a particularly big fan of Loki as a character, but you know, I gain more empathy for him as we go on this journey of discovery together. I'm enjoying the series, you know, whatever. And that little whispered that yeah, that hurt my feelings a little bit. I'm just not in love with this editing, and particularly a couple of the choices that they made. I like some aspects of the fight, they're very solid. I like the fancy bits, even if they don't really make sense, but a couple of the things just So the fight starts with the talking, and then Sylvie attacks and Loki parries in what in stage combat we'd call a high one, but your terminology may vary. Either way, then Loki attacks and she defends for a moment, and then we cut away, and when we come back, their positions have reversed. I'm not averse to reaction shots, they can be fun, and they do help increase your range of choices when editing, but the fact that they literally swap places in between shots is a little bit jarring. I complain a moderate amount in fight scenes that there isn't a very good sense of place, like we don't know really where all of the characters are in relation to each other particularly well, but in general, this fight scene does not have that. In general, because we know where this guy is sitting at his desk, we know where the fire is, we can kind of get an idea of where everybody is at any point in time. Which is why this shot kind of sticks out as a little bit jarring. One of the things I like about the fight is that once Sylvie's attention is entirely on Loki, he just lets her attack him. And I also like how she is always the one to escalate. So she attacks him with a sword, then he attacks her with a sword. She attacks him with magic, so he attacks her with magic. And I do like this part of the fight for the general fanciness, even though I'm not really sold on the distance. Like, I'm not sure you needed to do that. I'm not sure she was actually close enough to hit you. This part though, this is the second thing that really kind of hurts me, because one, I don't think that you're close enough to make this a viable threat, and two, swords are sharp. At least they're meant to be. This part in a lot of fights would strain credulity, but in this particular fight, it is already well established that they don't really want to hurt each other, and so it kind of works. We as the audience know that the blades at each other's throats are really mostly for show, but if this is meant to be a killing stroke, then I don't really buy that Loki hasn't just been accidentally sliced in half here. A couple of ways that I think would have improved it to make it work better: if the desk had been moved out of the way at some earlier point in the fight, and then Sylvie gives Loki the slip and comes in for the big dramatic stab, but no, suddenly Loki is right in the way. Can't kill the baddie without killing Loki as well, and she doesn't really want that, so she lets him think that that's okay. She lets the sword drop to her side, but she doesn't drop it, and then if you want to do the kissing and turning around thing, then you're back where you were originally and everything is good. It's not like I don't understand that people are a bit obsessed with the whole blade on neck trope thing, but you have already done that in this fight. That said, if you really want to do the whole jump through the air slow motion slashing thing, at least have Loki block her forearm with his forearm so that you rob this blade of momentum before it hits his neck. Just a suggestion. Overall, I've really enjoyed the series and I'm really up for watching another one, but I do wish on general principle that people in films used weapons in a way that makes sense for the weapon. What can you do?